At the Sect tournament, my master shattered my bonded sword in front of everyone. No sword now, huh? Let's see how you keep walking the emotionless path. But what rang in my ears was the sick, unhinged voice in his head. Break his sword and he's useless. After this, he'll have no choice but to depend on me day and night, my little caged bird. As he walked down from the platform, he stumbled and crashed to the ground. Then that voice rang out again. Will he feel bad for me? Hurry up and help me. Just reach your hand out to me and I'll forgive you. I'll even let you touch my face. He pushed himself up, dusted off his robe twice, and didn't even look at me. My junior brother took a wooden sword and shoved it into my hands. Senior brother, master is doing this for your own good. Once you get used to a wooden sword, it's no worse than your bonded sword. I took the wooden sword and lowered my head in salute. Master is right, I was in the wrong. Back on the main peak, Master had them remove my spirit gathering array and redirect the spirit spring to my junior brother. Cry. Just shed one tear and beg me once and I'd give you my life. I packed my things into a storage bag and moved into the servants' quarters. Master stood at the door, his hand trembling for a second. Why won't you beg me? Are you trying to make my heart ache to death? Fine. Let's see how long you can keep acting tough. When you can't take it anymore, you'll come crawling back to me in tears and beg for my help. He didn't know the system had been fixed. In 7 more days, I'd be free of this lunatic and finally go home. What I didn't expect was that the moment I truly disappeared, he showed up in my bedroom covered in wounds. I set the medicine pot over the coals. For this blood-staunching herb, I dragged my injured body through the back mountain for 4 straight hours. The wooden door was kicked open. A fancy boot came down on the medicine pot. The clay pot shattered, and brown medicine splashed everywhere. Steaming dregs splattered onto the back of my hand, raising angry red welts. Chen Jiahao stood in the doorway and sneered. Senior brother, that herbal stink is way too strong. What if it chokes my spirit bird? Behind him were disciples from the discipline hall, all people I used to mentor. Now they stood there hugging their swords, not even glancing at me. Chen Jiahao pinched up that moldy 7-leaf purple herb from the ground. Perfect. My spirit bird hasn't had much appetite lately. This herb may be cheap, but it's good enough to whet an animal's appetite. That was 7-leaf purple herb. 5 years ago, when Master was badly injured in the secret realm, I charged into a beast's nest and nearly bled out to bring back that single stalk. Back then, he barely spared it a glance. Now I was digging through the back mountain just to scrape together these leftovers. Go on, feed it to the bird. I only stared at the panel in my vision. 6 days left before I could leave this world. I stepped back and made room for Chen Jiahao. If junior brother likes it, he can have it. Chen Jiahao's smile froze and his eyes shifted. His fingers brushed over the fur cloak he was wearing. That was Xiao Bai, the spirit fox I'd raised for 10 years and fed with my own spiritual power. Yesterday, Chen Jiahao had casually said, "It's chilly," and Master skinned it alive. Chen Jiahao pulled the fox fur tighter around himself and buried his face in the collar, rubbing against it. Senior brother, this fur is so warm. Good thing Master dotes on me, and don't blame him. If a beast can keep me warm, that's its honor. My chest ached for a second, then went numb again. Just a few more days, and this would all be over. Master appeared at the courtyard gate. He stepped into the yard frowning, probably because he hated the smell of medicine. He looked at me. It's just an animal. Chen Jiahao is frail, and using it to keep warm is its good fortune. If you resent that, then your heart is crooked. Then that crazed voice sounded in my ear again. Come on, cry. The second you do, I can seal that blood tear of yours in a jade box. The fur of your favorite spirit pet is right here. This has to hurt, right? Get on your knees and beg me. When you're crying so hard you can't breathe, I'll toss you a few pills and pat your head. I picked up the broom from the corner and bent down to sweep the medicine dregs out the door. As long as junior brother likes it, just don't let it dirty Master's eyes. I'll clean it up right now. My master's face froze, anger flaring in his eyes. With one sweep of his sleeve, a wave of spiritual force shattered the broom in my hand. Splinters stabbed into my palm and blood started to drip. I didn't even react. My master walked up to me. So disrespectful. Looks like you've gotten way too comfortable in the servants' quarters. You don't even have a shred of remorse left. I lowered my head and stared at my toes. This disciple knows his mistake. If you know you're wrong, then go kneel beneath the frostfall at the back mountain and reflect on it. Don't come back until you've figured it out. The frostfall was where the sword sect punished serious crimes. If this were before, I could have tanked it with spiritual power. But now my life-bound sword was shattered, my cultivation had dropped, and going there meant I'd probably be walking straight into death. I looked up at my master. Yes, master. Then I turned and left. Behind me, I heard his heavy breathing, followed by the sharp crack of a teacup being crushed. The wind in the back mountain cut hard. The waterfall crashed down from the cliff and slammed into my back, while the cold seeped through every gap in my bones. I knelt on the heartstone in the middle of the pool, my knees already numb, pain drilling through my meridians. 3 years ago, during my master's tribulation, his magic artifact shattered. I stepped in front of him and took the lightning strike for him. My heart meridian cracked. And ever since then, the cold made it hurt like hell. Now the freezing water triggered that old injury again. My vision blurred from the pain, but I didn't make a sound. Right then, my master was staring into a water mirror. He was waiting for me to cry injustice, waiting for me to break and beg him for mercy. Too bad for him, he was never getting that. Countdown 5 days. Chen Jiahao came over carrying a white jade bowl, steam rising from it. It was Heartguard soup. Just one sip could block out the cold. He stopped at the edge of the shore, boots crunching through the snow. Senior brother, how's it feel? Master said if you're willing to bow your head, this bowl of medicine is yours. I closed my eyes, circulating the last scraps of spiritual power in my body, and ignored him. Chen Jiahao flipped his wrist and the brown medicine spilled all over the snow, staining it dark. Oops, my hand slipped. Just look at you now. You're lower than a dog. You used to be the senior brother. And now? I'm done pouring it out, so get lost. Don't stand here blocking the light. Chen Jiahao's face darkened. A wave of pressure came crashing down, and my master landed with a cold expression, shielding Chen Jiahao behind him. He stared at me, utterly hopeless. His fingers moved, sealing all the pressure points across my body. With no spiritual power left to block it, the cold instantly flooded my organs. I coughed up a mouthful of blood. If you still refuse to learn your lesson, then go to the 10,000 Serpents Pit. That was a forbidden area of the sect, a chasm filled with venomous snakes. Scared now. You've always hated wet, cold creatures like that. If you grab my robe and cry for help, I'll take you away. He stood at the cliff's edge waiting for me to throw myself at him. I wiped the blood from my mouth. Bracing myself against a rock, I forced myself upright and walked to the edge of the cliff. Thank you, master. Then I jumped. The wind screamed past my ears. In that instant, I heard my master's breathing lose its rhythm. Countdown, 4 days. The 10,000 Serpents Pit was pitch black. Snakes crawled all over me, their fangs sinking into flesh. The place reeked, foul and rotten. I dragged myself through the mud. 5 years ago, to save my master, I held this place for half a month and drove the snakes back. But now I was all alone. For 3 days and 3 nights, I never cried out once. Whenever I felt like I couldn't hold on, I just stared at that panel. At dawn on the 10th day, I clawed my way back up to the cliff top, covered in dried blood, my clothes in tatters, every wound dark and festering. My master and Chen Jiahao were standing at the cliff's edge. Chen Jiahao let out a scream and ducked behind him. My master's body went rigid. He took a step forward, raised his hand halfway, then let it fall again. He opened a spiritual barrier and stepped farther away from me, like he was afraid I'd dirty the place just by standing there. My master's voice came out hoarse. Hand over the serpent gallbladder. Jiahao needs it to recover. Then get out of here and wash yourself clean. I opened my hand. The Serpent King's gallbladder lay in my palm. Chen Jiahao came over with a handkerchief wrapped around his hand to take it. The second he did, his foot slipped, and his thick embroidered boot came down hard on my right hand. I pressed my lips together and pulled my hand back without making a sound. My master's fingers trembled. He turned and walked away, his thoughts in complete chaos. Why didn't he cry out? He used to cut his finger and come running to me, asking me to blow on it forever. Does he not care about me anymore? No. He's just mad at me. He's just trying to get back at me. I looked at his back. Who cares? Countdown 2 days. In the servants' quarters, I felt around by the wall and pulled out a tarnished silver lock. It was the keepsake my mortal parents left behind. Back when the plague hit, they sent me up the mountain and hung this lock around my neck. I wiped the lock with my sleeve. Just 2 more days and I could go home. I pictured it clearly. Warm milk, flowers on the balcony, and mom and dad nagging me. Then the light dimmed. My master was standing not far from me. He reached out, and the longevity lock flew from my hand into his palm. I lunged to grab it back. He raised his arm high and looked the lock over. So this is why your cultivation's been slipping. The emotionless Tao rejects worldly attachments, and you're still holding on to this thing. I grabbed his sleeve and reached for it. Please, don't touch it. The moment he heard that, his fingers tightened. That familiar voice slipped into my ears. So you finally begged me. Break the things he cares about and he'll give in. Why keep some mortal trash? From now on, his world should have only me. My master looked at me, spiritual energy flickering at his fingertips. Then came a sharp crack. The silver lock shattered in his palm and turned to dust. He opened his hand, and the gray powder scattered across my face, cold to the bone. I didn't move. I just stayed there with my hand still out. Dust fell into my eyes. I pulled my hand back, sat down on the straw, and closed my eyes. My master kept staring at me. Then a disciple shouted from outside, "Master! Chen Jiahao's cultivation backfired! The healer says he won't last!" My master grabbed my wrist so hard it felt like my bones were about to snap. "Come with me, to the main hall." Chen Jiahao was lying on a jade couch, blood all over the corner of his mouth. A group of healers were kneeling on the floor, giving their report. Junior brother Chen's heart meridians are damaged. He needs heart's blood from someone on the same cultivation path as a catalyst. In the sword sect, the only ones on the emotionless Tao were me and my master. He flipped out a dagger and held it in front of me. Save him. I looked at the blade. I was leaving soon anyway. Even if this body was ruined, it didn't matter. Fine. I untied my robe and bared my chest, crisscrossed with old scars. Those were the scars I got taking tribulation strikes for him. My master's gaze landed on them, and the hand holding the dagger paused. Chen Jiahao let out a groan on the couch. My master moved. The dagger sank into my flesh, straight into my chest, and the pain shot through me. I clenched my teeth and stayed silent. He twisted his wrist, and 3 drops of golden red blood rose out. The moment my heart's blood left my body, I collapsed. My vision went dark. In that haze, my master reached over and pressed a hand to my chest. He didn't stop the bleeding. Instead, he pinched off a blood-soaked scrap of cloth and slipped it into his sleeve. That voice spoke again. "So much blood, still warm. This is his heart's blood. Hide it. Show it to me later." The hall was packed with disciples. They watched me hit the floor, and not one of them stepped forward. You could tell senior brother was always unhappy with junior brother Chen. Didn't think he'd push him this far. Taking a little blood is getting off easy. Seriously, he had it coming. I lay on the floor staring at that translucent panel. 1 day left on the countdown. Almost there. I closed my eyes. 3 hours left on the countdown. The sword sect was buzzing today. Red silk hung all over the mountain gate, and music filled the air. This was Chen Jiao's core formation ceremony. They dragged me out of the dungeon and hauled me across the long white jade steps. My master sat high above on a white jade throne, with Chen Jiao by his side. They forced me to the center of the platform, where 2 law enforcement disciples pinned my shoulders and tried to make me kneel. I refused. My kneecaps already burned with pain from the cold kui eating into them, but I still straightened up. Then I looked up and saw my master staring down at me. His voice, amplified by spiritual power, echoed through the entire sect. You were jealous of your fellow disciple, and your heart turned crooked. Now that Chen Jiao is forming his core, he still needs a supreme sword bone to stabilize his origin. As his senior brother, this is your final act of atonement. Dig out your sword bone. So that was the real finale, my inborn sword bone. Without your sword, let's see how you're supposed to cultivate the emotionless path. But what rang in my ears was his twisted, deranged inner voice. It was the top-tier sword bone everyone in the cultivation world envied, and the thing Master used to be proudest of. Now, he was going to rip it out with his own hands and put it into another man's body. Senior brother, hand over your sword bone and atone! The chant came like a tidal wave, deafening. I looked at Master. His face was still cold and arrogant, but inside his voice was screaming at me. If you get on your knees right now, crawl over here and kiss the hem of my robe. If you admit in front of everyone that you can't live without me, I'll let you off.
Come on, stop being so stubborn. If that sword bone is really gone, you'll be useless. And when that happens, the only place you'll have left is by my side.
He had already laid a perfect trap. He thought that as long as I stayed alive, I'd always be his to control. Too bad he got one thing wrong. I never planned to live. I slowly straightened up, shook off the enforcers holding me down, and looked around at the place I'd lived in for 20 years. Every blade of grass, every tree. I used to protect it with my life. Now it just looked filthy. You won't have to do it yourselves. The next second I raised my right hand, fingers slicing like a blade. At my fingertips, the last bit of spiritual power I had, burned from my own life force, gathered, and I drove it straight into my back. Have you lost your mind? Master shot to his feet, and the calm on his face shattered instantly. Everyone was frozen in shock. Gritting my teeth, I hooked my fingers around my spine and yanked. Inch by inch, the sword bone glowing with a cold light was pulled out of my body. The entire plaza fell into a dead silence. Covered in blood, I stood there holding the sword bone, still dripping red, my body barely staying upright. Here's the sword bone you wanted. I looked at Master, at his paper-white face. And now, the only thing in his head was pure panic, screaming, Yifan, stop! Stop right now! I don't need it anymore! I don't want it! I laughed. I laughed so hard tears started running down my face. Master, this cultivation, this flesh and blood, I'm giving it all back to you today. I clenched my hand. Crack. That top-tier sword bone shattered in my palm, crushed into powder that scattered across the entire sect. I don't owe you anything anymore. Wishing you two a lifetime of happiness. May we never meet again. At that exact moment, the system countdown hit 0. Host successfully disengaged. Ha ha ha! No! He rushed down like a madman, but all he managed to catch were the glowing specks drifting through the air. I vanished completely into the wind, without leaving behind even a shred of a soul. Up on the platform, Master was frozen mid-grab, suspended in the air. He lied to me again? Ha 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 ha! How could he bring himself to die? He said he couldn't live without me. He said I'd be the only one he'd ever love. Come back, get back here! He tore up the stone tiles with his bare hands like a madman, trying to find any trace that I'd ever existed. But there was nothing, not even a wisp of a soul. Even with the most ruthless soul-searching technique, he couldn't sense a single trace of me. Chen Jiao was terrified. He collapsed in his seat and called out, testing the waters. Master? Master whipped his head around. His eyes were blood red. Get out! He struck with one palm. Chen Jiao didn't even have time to scream before half his body was blasted into a cloud of blood. Spit out his flesh and blood! Who said you could take his bone? Who gave you permission? On that day, the sword sect turned into hell. The #1 sword venerable completely fell to demonic madness. Then the scene cut, and under a warm but blinding sun, I shot awake and bolted upright from a soft mattress. The bedroom door opened. My mom walked in carrying a cup of hot milk, a worried smile on her face. Yifan, did you have a nightmare? I stared at her blankly, and suddenly tears started pouring down my face. Mom. That one word had been buried for 3 whole years, an entire lifetime away. After a 3-year dream, I was finally home. But in that distant cultivation world, Master had gone insane. After exhausting every soul-searching technique and finding nothing, he snuck into the sect's forbidden ground. The secret chamber was packed with all the trophies he'd collected. I don't believe you're dead. You have to be hiding somewhere. He suddenly slashed open his wrist, and black liquid poured into the grotesque array on the floor. He was going to use 10,000 years of his own cultivation, along with the entire sect's fortune, as a sacrifice, to forcibly tear open a rift through space and time to another world. Late that night, I was working overtime at the office. My hand paused over the file I was reading as a chill crawled up my back. Instinctively, I turned around. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights glittered. Was I imagining it? I rubbed my temples, closed the file, but that feeling, like a snake watching me, only got stronger. In the cultivation world, the skies split open. The heavens raged, and purple lightning crashed down on the forbidden grounds like dragons. Master's hair was a mess. The former top sword sovereign was gone. All that was left was a man consumed by madness. The formation activated. Chen Jihao was bound tight by chains of spiritual power. Master, spare me! You're in pain? You think you deserve to say that? Yi Fan suffered 1,000 times worse. You took his spirit bones, so your life will pay for this erased core. Without a shred of mercy, he reached out. Chen Jihao's screams cut off. His life force and soul were ripped away, thrown into the black vortex and erased completely. Master leaped straight into the space-time chaos that could shred anything. He destroyed himself and the entire sect with him. In the modern world, it had rained non-stop for 3 days. The whole city was wrapped in gray mist. After work, I headed to the garage to get my car. The lights overhead suddenly started flickering like crazy. The temperature dropped to freezing, and even my breath turned white. I stopped and tightened my grip on my keys. In the corner, black liquid was spreading through the standing water. It seemed to sense me. The shadow moved. He lifted his head with everything he had. Time froze. It was Master. Even as ashes, I'd know those eyes. I finally found you. He let out a sick, relieved laugh, then lunged like a demon and clamped his fingers around my ankle. Come back with me, you're mine. He still thought he was the untouchable sword sovereign. Too bad. This was a world of laws, and this was my turf. I looked down at the man who used to act like he ruled everything. Let go. Master froze for a second. He clearly wasn't expecting that reaction from me. He tightened his grip, trying to yank me to the ground. I didn't scream. I slowly raised my other foot, fixed my eyes on the wound on his hand, and stomped down hard. Master let out a sharp, miserable scream. He stared at me in disbelief. Let go, or that hand is done. Sweat poured down his face. He was pale as paper, but he still wouldn't let go. He looked up at me. Yi Fan, you're still mad at me. I know I was wrong. I never should have hurt you for Chen Jiahao. Come back with me. I'll give you the whole world. Just do as you're told, and I'll give you anything. I almost laughed. That was the biggest joke I'd ever heard. The whole world? Are you insane? I pulled out my phone and dialed the number right in front of him. Hello, 911? There's a stalking creep attacking me in my garage. Yes. He looks mentally unstable, and he might get violent. Please send someone now. After I hung up, I looked down at Master. Hear that? That's my answer. Master's pupil shook violently. You dare call mortal cops to arrest me? He tried to move his spiritual power, tried to blast me away, tried to crush me with pressure like before, but his dantian was empty. All that came back was searing pain, and a mouthful of black blood splashed onto my shoe. 10 minutes later, sirens filled the garage. Several strong officers rushed in and slammed him into the puddles while he fought like crazy. How dare you? I am the greatest sword sovereign. Who dares touch me? Get off me, you insects! He thrashed on the ground, but cold handcuffs locked around his wrists. At the station, the bright white lights made your head spin. Master had changed into a blue jail uniform and was locked in a glaring detention cell. The police couldn't find any record of him. No ID, no household registration, nothing. And with the way he kept ranting, they looked at him like he was deeply delusional. A few days later, after a forensic psych eval, Master was diagnosed with severe schizophrenia and ruled highly dangerous. He was forcibly transferred to the high-security ward of a psychiatric hospital. He completely lost it, scratching useless formations into the walls, screaming at the orderlies and demanding they kneel. All he got back was shot